All right, folks, it's a new episode. We got all the news this week on Vince McMahon, on Sting retiring, and a whole bunch of other good stuff coming up here this week on Wrestling with the Business. Check it out.
We're back, episode 28, WWB, Jeremy, Matt, and myself, Wrestling with the Business. We're ready to kick it off here. We got some stuff to go over. We're going to talk the post shows from the big week last week, how the ratings sat with AEW and NXT this week. We're going to talk about the new GM's back, Triple H taking some creative control. It looks like one of his first moves is reestablishing the good old general manager. One thing that I've argued for a long time, that authority figures make sense in wrestling. But
why didn't we do that on Ring the Bell?
We've not talked about that before. Yes. I said Jeremy should argue that it's not good. I was going to argue it is good.
I could argue that. Yeah,
I don't know if he could argue that. But let's jump right into it. Post the big week last week. Ratings for NXT and AEW. You know, obviously they both saw some big jumps from the week before. Superstar, segment-wise, everything. You know, they went head-to-head. How did this week fare out for them? I know... AEW is what, 900 and 1,000?
900, 1,000. So big pickup. They were under 700 last week, or closer to 600.
It was
right?
600. Yeah, 620, I think.
So definitely big jump for them. A really big jump for them, actually, because they were hovering around that 700, 800 mark. So good on them. NXT took a drop, though.
798.
798. Still really good for them, though.
Well, I want to ask you, so besides going from Tuesday back to Wednesday, what would cause a 30%?
You know, I was trying to think of it. There wasn't really...
They didn't tease much.
No, there were no big teases, and there wasn't really anything major that happened on the show. It was a very good average AEW Dynamite. So
what did they have that week? 670,000?
620.
Oh,
yeah. Now, what they did, they scored really well in the target demographic. They were basically the same. They lost a little. It was like a 0.28 versus a 0.26. So they were very close in the target demographic to where they normally are. So
it's all about...
They've got, what I said last week is they have their core set of fans, 600,000. They're going to follow them no matter where they go. It's more like a floor to them. Could they dip if they go up against a playoff game or something? Okay, they could.
It was on the same channel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different night. They didn't move it to like TBS.
And they were going up against ridiculously stacked NXT.
Well, I mean, you had the head-to-head with NXT. That's going to play a little bit. NXT went through all the motions with everything that they brought in.
What did you think of that? We never got your take on that.
The NXT?
On NXT stacking with Taker, Cena. I mean, it was basically...
I'll be honest with you. I was a little disappointed it didn't hit over 1 million views. What was it, like 920?
910, I think.
I mean, I was actually kind of upset it did not hit over 1 million. I mean, you had John Cena, you had Undertaker, you had who else showed up? You had Judgment Day there, you had Cody Rhodes, you had like
LA Knight.
I mean, that's a pretty stacked show.
Brawling Brutes.
And compared to like a SmackDown, but like, I mean, I was a little disappointed. I thought The Undertaker wasn't really all that necessary. Probably a little overkill.
No.
I watched all the segments.
To me, it smelled like desperation. The fact that they included Taker.
Look, they had to be AEW.
Because they teased it last minute. And this is to your point. No. To your point about the million, had they teased Undertaker a full week in advance, I'll bet you they would have got their million.
Right. Yeah. Is it desperate? I'm not going to go that far. I don't think WWE was that desperate. I mean, they wanted to be... Look, the basic math.
They overkilled.
No. WWE knows. Okay, and I was about to say this before. I think the drop in AEW is clearly just the night change. That you're going to lose a lot. It doesn't matter how much you promote it, what you do. You're going to have a core set of people who just either can't watch it on a Tuesday. Maybe they're working. Maybe there's another show they like. You know, maybe they're just going to go DVR and watch it on Wednesday like they normally would. Okay, the reality is that's going to be a big drop in itself. So WWE knew they were going to beat them. I think WWE's known when they've had to move to FS1 or whatever, they see a substantial drop. They know that. They've done it enough to see it. So they knew they were going to beat them. I don't think it was like they were desperate. I think it was like we want to put our foot on their throat when they're down and show. I mean, look, from reading Tony Khan's text or not text, but tweets on, I think there's nothing wrong with starting a good old head-to-head rivalry again. I think it makes for great wrestling.
I think they really wanted to prove, though, after getting beat
they
by
did.
Dynamite
I'm sure.
for a year, on Wednesday nights.
But it's all about momentum. Look, if you look at NXT and you look at AEW, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. You watch AEW more than I do. I kind of see momentum coming kind of down for AEW right now. They're kind of getting themselves in a little bit of they got to give themselves a boost. They had one this week. The ratings are up. But I think NXT, big show or not last week, they're on the rise. They have a lot of momentum right now. It's good TV. People are happy with the product. They got good storylines going. They had the momentum. AEW's losing the momentum. And it's all about, getting that going. And I'll be honest with you, I've been kind of disappointed with what Edge has kind of brought. I thought Edge would kind of give more of a boost. I mean, I really did. As much as I don't like him going there, I thought he'd give them a much bigger boost than what I've seen the last couple of weeks. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is. But to me, it doesn't look like that. The morale looks like it's kind of changing. Where it looks like there could be some low morale at AEW and some higher, things seem to be up and up with WWE right now with Triple H and storylines. And
here's an interesting storyline.
Clearly the ratings.
Collision this past Saturday did 500,000. Rampage did 400,000. So Rampage is actually starting
Picking
to
up.
close the gap a little bit on Collision.
What day is Rampage on again?
It's
Friday night at 10 o'clock.
10 to 11.
Didn't it used to be Saturday?
No.
And they put Collision there? No, it's always been Friday night?
It's been 1 hour tight.
Right after SmackDown.
10 to 11 o'clock. It's not a good time slot.
I'll be honest, that's not a bad number for Friday at 10 o'clock.
No, not at all.
That's what I'm saying. It's airing on TNT.
They usually hover around the 300, 350 range.
It plays after their 7 o'clock movie goes off the air or whatever. Their 8 o'clock movie goes off the air.
So what did Collision do this week?
Collision did 500,000, just over 500,000. So from the, they were pushing 7-ish. It was getting pretty close to where the Dynamite numbers were until CM Punk flew the coop. It's just an interesting thing of note because Rampage was kind of the redheaded stepchild of the whole organization. It was like, why do we even have you? Let's get rid of you, right? When we talked about streamlining, Rampage was like the first thing on the chopping block. And now Rampage numbers, and they're kind of trending up a little bit better. Just an interesting thing to note. Whereas everybody else is kind of flat.
That's always been the thing with the network, though. As long as the ratings, as long as the show is in the top 3 or top 5 for the night, for the time slot, that's all they care about. They don't care what the actual number is.
Here's an interesting note, and I'm literally just reading this right now. I haven't seen this at all. It's a couple of days old. So TKO shares are down 23% since the merger was closed. And they're saying, Ari Emanuel is saying that it's basically 3 reasons. The SmackDown deal, news of the Saudi PIF investigating the PFL, and Vince having the rights to sell his stock as part of the merger.
Yeah, they didn't expect this. They expected the SmackDown deal to be better than it was. So they were a little that's
SmackDown
why.
numbers are dog shit compared to where they were 2, 4, 6 years ago.
I did read where of course, the article headline was different. The article headline was Ari blames Vince for stocks being down. But I don't understand. So Vince can sell what he has, and he just can walk away.
He can sell his TKOs. Yeah, which, of course, how much does he own? I mean, he dumps that stock. Oh, man. He's got a lot of leverage in that company.
I think I read he has I thought I read it was like 25% he owns.
I thought it was like 40.
It could be more. He owns a substantial amount of that stock.
Yeah. I don't think it's 40.
Because WWE represents 49%.
Yeah.
And Endeavor has 51.
I think between him and the whole McMahon family, they owned something like 50 or 52% of the old WWE.
Right.
So if they share 25, 30% of TKO,
20,
I would believe that. But man, if he decided to just take his $1 billion and go home, he could do a lot of damage to that organization, which is interesting. And I don't want to take the show from you here, but we talked about Vince not losing creative control. He kind of still has a lot of leverage if he could just dump that stock.
Well, we haven't actually talked about that yet.
Still make $1 billion. Well, I don't want to transition too early and step on you guys here, but
I think look, everyone's saying that Vince has some pull here. I mean, he is the executive chairman. I mean, he does have. I mean, who knows what that board means, doesn't mean, but like. Anyone to say that Vince doesn't have leverage? Vince has leverage, and Vince, from what I can tell, I wish I could pull it up. He has some he can pull a couple vetoes from what I read, where he has some rights to pull vetoes on certain things, and portraying to UFC. Because remember, they're all together now.
Right.
I mean, Vince just doesn't have say over WWE. He's executive chairman of TKO, which has WWE and UFC. So Vince can say some no and put some vetoes on some certain things. I wish I had it in front of me what the article was, but
he does have a boss now, though.
He does have a boss.
He doesn't have autonomy.
I'm not sure I understand that, because executive chairman really is chairman of the board. I've never really understood. CEO doesn't really have say over the chairman, but I have read what you said, where Ari can just fire Vince.
I thought he was just executive of the WWE side.
No, he's executive chairman of their board.
Of the whole thing, okay.
That's how I read it, but Ari is CEO, but Ari owns 51% of the company, so like it doesn't really matter if you have a chairman or not. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like Ari can do whatever the hell he wants. And Endeavor shares own 51%.
Hence why, like we mentioned, Vince McMahon is no longer part of creative in WWE anymore. Yeah. He got the boot.
Dude, TKO Group is becoming quite... So they own bull riding. They own UFC. Now they own WWE. They just put in a bid to buy 10% of the PGA.
And that's what Saudi's investigating?
No.
What are they investigating? That was one of the second reasons.
Golf. That's different.
But what was the number 2 reason why the stock was down, you said?
Yeah, they were saying it was a PIF investigation.
Of what? How would TKO have anything to do with that?
Well, I'm guessing somebody got caught up in...
That doesn't make... Because, I mean, Saudi, did they put any deals in or offers? I mean, I don't think UFC's not doing anything with the Saudis at all.
USA? What do you mean USA?
The UFC.
No, but WWE obviously has a very close relationship with the Saudis, and I mean,
I wonder what they're investigating.
They started doing shows there every year, and they started doing all that stuff. Let me find the actual language here.
Did anyone really think that TKO stock was going to go through the roof? I mean, they opened it. They got over to 100.
WWE stock was over $100 consistently. It was like 105 when they sold.
They probably have more shares issued. So that's probably why it's a little bit lower.
Maybe. I don't know what the share count is, but TKO's shares were very low. $23, $25 in comparison to that. So, yeah, obviously the shares are going to be way higher. It's now a way bigger company.
I'll tell you right now, those stocks go up at all, that's when Vince is going to sell. Vince is going to sell the minute those stocks go through the roof.
PFL sells $100 million plus minority stake to Saudi Arabia's public investment fund.
Yeah, so there you go.
So something...
PIF, Public Investment Fund.
Yep. So they're investigating that, something shady.
That does look a little shady.
Well, speaking of Vince, let's just dive right into it. Vince is also in the news for losing apparently creative control, taken from him over to Triple H, which apparently came from Ari's decision at Endeavor. So Ari already stepping in here now as the CEO of TKO and making the move.
Yeah.
I mean, can we blame him? I don't think there's going to be many people who are going to say that's a horrible move. I think most people are saying that's probably the right move. And Triple H has been knighted, according to a lot of them, that he's the new the knight of WWE and gonna have to take it where it's got to go, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But why don't you guys go first?
Well, let me ask this question to start out with. We were talking briefly before we started recording. Your comment was, yeah, and they brought back GMs. That was kind of the first big thing that they did. Let's assume that you're right, that Triple H did take control and that he did bring back GMs. How would we know? What would be some of the indicators that Vince is back in control? Like, what would we
Vince
see?
Is back?
Or Vince isn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Or Vince isn't, you mean?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're saying it's a sign that Vince isn't in control because the GMs are back.
Well, no, I mean, Triple H reported. Most people were reporting. But I mean, like, I read that there's no change. There's been less changes in the show, like right short term, like right before the show started.
Yeah,
they're pushing more wrestlers that weren't being pushed before. Like Tegan Knox has been on TV every week for the past several weeks.
NXT's been getting more love with all the
DIY
stars.
got back together a couple weeks ago. Ciampa and Gargano.
Okay, so what would it look like if in a month or two Vince elbows him, starts calling his son-in-law on the phone, or if over Thanksgiving dinner he starts giving him the elbow and telling him what to do?
I don't think it's gonna happen.
The Undertaker beats Roman Reigns.
You think so?
It'd be something. Yeah, it'd be something weird like that. It would be obvious.
Something,
and
out of
then
the
we
blue.
would hear reports a day or two later. Yeah, the main event was changed 5 minutes
I
before
have
they
to
walked
imagine.
out.
You know, now in hindsight, looking back, I have to imagine that a lot of that shit might have been leaked by Triple H or somebody close to him.
Sure.
You mean before when Vince was coming back?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Being,
Absolutely.
Well, look, no
being
one.
like, Daddy's looking over my shoulder. I don't want to take any blame for these creative choices.
Look, we see all the cheat sheets and everyone talking about it and everything. Like, they all know. Like, everyone's out talking. The morale was down. People are commenting about Vince. Like, they know the people behind the scenes and the beat reporters and all. They know when Vince. They hear the rumors. They hear the gossip. We read that when we go through and read it. So now clearly, there's signs that Triple H is really back doing it. And look,
Well, not even signs. It's been confirmed.
well, yeah. And there's no one's job is guaranteed. Let me tell you something. 4 months from now, if ratings tank and it's a shit show, don't think Vince can't be pulled back in.
Yeah, that's
I
not
mean,
gonna happen.
but I don't think that's the case. And I think we saw this. What was it? A year? When did Triple H really kind of when Vince stepped down? What was that? A year ago?
That was last summer.
It was almost 2 years ago.
Morale.
You're right. It was July.
It was last
Morale was through the roof.
And it was January
right?
that he came back.
Ratings were going up. Like, it was very. We all like this is now becoming very good TV. And then Vince took over. He pushed Stephanie out of the way and took over, and everything went right back down the tubes again. And now look at NXT back up. Look at I think SmackDown's been up like 13% overall. I think this year, and that's gotta be a sign. I don't know what Raw is, but I mean that's clearly a sign.
I can't pass up an opportunity to rub your nose in it.
Factions.
There's no better sign that Vince McMahon is not back than the fact that CM Punk was turned down by WWE when he reached out to them. Because that is a Vince move through and through.
Vince said no, or you think Vince would say yes?
I think Vince would say yes.
Oh, I think he
if
would
was in
too.
Yeah.
control.
And I think Triple H would.
No, I think no.
You don't think Triple H would say?
I don't think so.
I don't
think
think
it's
No.
clear.
Whoa. Are we really gonna say that decision is up to Triple H and Vince?
If
Why
he's
not?
handling creative,
Yeah, why not?
he's chief content officer.
Let me tell you something.
I mean,
Okay,
yeah, If
what-
Ari comes in and
okay,
saying,
let's
hire
try
him
to
up.
figure out the scope of authority right now at the TKO. CM Punk is interested in coming back. You don't think Ari steps in on a decision like that? Because this is business changing.
No, because listen, this is why. Let me tell you why. Because if you're Ari and you have just beheaded the king and replaced him with the new prince, the first thing you're going to do is undermine that new prince that you just put in the throne. No. You're not going to cut his legs out from underneath him, and basically the first decision he can make.
But business is
Even if
business,
it's
and
not-
Ari isn't. I mean,
You put Triple H in there because he knows what
I
he's
agree.
doing.
You're
Because he
you're
made good
alienating the
decisions.
whole system by jumping in and saying hire or sign CM Punk.
But even from a business standpoint, we've talked about this before. In the short term, it might be a good idea. In the long term, it
So
will
let
be
me put it
bad.
this way. Okay, let me ask you a question because I love this. Who's really running the show over there? Let's say The Rock and Triple H don't get along, right? The Rock wants to come back. He calls Ari and goes, "Ari, I want to do a thing." You don't think Ari's going to drop the hammer on Triple H and say, "Bring The Rock in"?
Yes, but
Okay, now
The Rock is still on a much higher level than a
So
CM
let's
Punk.
continue to come down the ladder. So The Rock could get Ari's approval. Now it's
Well,
jumped
wait
down
a
to
minute.
CM Punk.
No, let me clarify here. I don't think The Rock automatically gets Ari's approval. I think Triple H gets a phone call from Ari, and Ari says, "Hey, why aren't we doing this, or why should we do this, or why can't we do this?" And then Triple H has to explain himself, and maybe he explains himself in a way that makes sense. He's ridiculously expensive. We have all the money tied up here or there. It doesn't make sense creatively. That's not the angle we're working. He's going to be a one and done. Do we really want to do that? Where are we going to put him? Let's save him for WrestleMania. Let's save him for SummerSlam. Let's save him for something that works instead of burning him on a Monday night. Why? Because The Rock is bored and we're looking for a couple extra rating points. I mean, it's a conversation at any level. Going all the way up, there's no name that's too big. I think when you're Ari and you put the new prince in, everything is a conversation. There's no dropping the hammer and pulling rank and saying, "No, screw you. I'm going to make you put this guy in front of the camera."
I
It's a
can't wait.
conversation.
I can't wait for the first bunch of rumors to go out that Ari or Endeavor stepped in as some type of some type of
It's going to have to be a
personnel
controversial
decision. At some
call.
point, they're going to want someone fired.
Putting the belt on
At some
somebody
point,
that
something's
shouldn't
going to
have
happen where we read, oh, this guy was pushed out because it came from up above. Something's going to happen at some point. I mean, the question is, how much does Triple H really have creative personnel? I mean, creative control is one thing. Personnel control is another. And sometimes you can put those together and put them under the same category. But creative is one category. Personnel is another, in my opinion.
So, but it's not just creative, though. He's chief content officer, which would include who's involved in that content. You
can mix them together for sure. But I also think you could also say they're separate, too. So do you think Triple H really has the personnel control, or do you think no?
I think I think so, yeah. I think for all
it makes sense to have it.
It sounds like you're describing Triple H as more like a manager in baseball or a coach versus a GM.
No,
I'm not describing picks your lineup.
I'm describing who's really running the show in this pecking order at TKO is what I want to know. And no one knows. I
think Triple H runs WWE.
Yeah.
He runs WWE.
He
for
should.
all intents and purposes.
Yeah,
by the way, the one person we haven't mentioned this entire conversation is Nick Khan, because he just should not be there. And as I said earlier, Triple H should just be the president.
He's a numbers
No
man.
one's talking to Nick Khan. I don't even know what that guy does. Kick him to the curb.
He does the TV deals and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he does the money. And Triple H.
The guy's a boob, okay? Just get rid of him. Move him on out. Nick Khan, when you look at he has the slick back hair. He looks like a grease ball. I'm sorry. Does he not? Matt sees it. I can know. When you sit there and you look at all of them stand there, he's sitting there with a smile on his face with a gray slick back hair. He looks like a guy that you don't trust when you're looking at all the people up at the podium when they're ringing the bell for TKO.
He was asked to do something that he never did before, and that's way out of his wheelhouse, and that's be the face of the organization for 6 months while they close this deal.
Right.
That's not his thing. That's not where he wants to be. It's not his comfort zone. To your point, you got Triple H.
No one trusts Nick Khan.
And you got Dana White on one side. They complement each other very well. Mm-hmm. But do you really think Ari tells Dana White what to do? Or do you think Dana White makes the right decision and then begs for forgiveness or fights Ari behind the scenes?
That's the thing I hope to explore over the next... does Dana White... I mean, okay, Dana White's president of UFC, so technically he should have the same authority as Nick Khan. But I would like to know if Triple H has that same authority as
creatively, I think he does.
I mean, does he have... I mean, I'm curious. I love to hear more about how much room Triple H has in that position. Like,
Whoa, hang on 1 second. I didn't notice this until right now. Dynamite, while it was at 901,000, scored a .31 in the demo.
Oh, yeah.
So they actually outscored
NXT
last week in their Monster Week in the demo. So that's what's cool about AEW, and we've talked about this. It's a particular, it's that 18 to 49 demographic that AEW appeals to. So it's a more narrow net, but they punch way above their weight inside the demographic. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could get a better TV deal than SmackDown. They could. SmackDown gets 2 million viewers, let's say, a little over 2 million viewers, but they scored the same in the demo as a show that gets less than half the viewers. You could easily see Dynamite score a television deal similar to what SmackDown gets. Even though they only have half the overall viewership. Well,
I think that's a stretch.
A 65-year-old dude or a 7-year-old boy is going to be worth a tiny fraction of what a 35-year-old guy is going to be worth.
Well, off what we were talking about, now that Triple H is... well, we all go off, of course. So now that Triple H has taken over, it seems like one of the big content moves that he's made, and personally one of my favorites, and one that hasn't made sense for quite some time, is reestablishing the authority figures on what looks to be just Raw and SmackDown right now, is a new general manager.
Yeah, let's talk about who is it?
Adam Pearce we have for Raw, and then we have Nick Aldis for SmackDown.
And we knew Nick was coming.
He's been working as a producer behind the scenes.
And he's not gonna. Yeah, we knew he wasn't gonna work in the ring because of his injuries and stuff like that, right? He was saying he wasn't gonna come back.
Oh, I didn't know he was actually injured.
I thought I heard that. I thought that he went out with an injury.
I think I did read he was hurt for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, he was hurt for a while. He's been struggling with it, and I think he kind of isn't really into.
So the real question is, how long until his wife comes in?
Was going to be my follow-up now that he's...
I have read I've seen more and more. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they actually were thinking about her for the Raw GM.
Really?
And having Nick on SmackDown and Mickey on Raw, but they ultimately decided not to go with that, I guess, and went with Adam. I mean, how can you not have? I mean, look, I don't like the choices. I don't like either one of them as GM. I think the hard sell when you look at both of them. Adam Pearce had been around for a long, long time, so I guess it makes sense that he'd be a GM. I mean, the question is, are you going with a person like Kurt Angle was a personality GM? Clearly, Kurt Angle is known for a lot more than being a general manager, right? Adam Pearce kind of fills that, back in the day, like William Regal a little bit. Even though William Regal was a wrestler, William kind of became more known as the commissioner back in the day. I mean, in my opinion. Teddy, Adam Pearce is like a Teddy, in my opinion. And, I mean, I when Nick came out, I'm like, I don't see that as a GM role. I don't see him as a GM role.
It's hard for me to see Adam Pearce in that role because he's been such a beta. The GM's supposed to come out and be like, you're going to be taking on this guy tonight, so stick it. It's an authority figure. Pierce has been on his cell phone arguing with somebody for how long now? How many? What is it? Years? Are we at years now at this point? He's been doing that.
And maybe Nick's suit was too big
during the pandemic. It was.
I don't know if you saw Nick when he got in. His suit was just way too big. Maybe something just was out of place. He did not look right there. I think his suit was just way too big on him. And I'm just like, what is going on right now? Because this whole scene just doesn't look right.
He had to borrow Triple H's coat.
Yeah.
Well, Triple H just got. Did you guys watch the segment? When he introduced him, maybe I watched it. Maybe I watched it like halfway in by mistake. But there's Adam Pearce, and then there's Triple H, and then Triple H or Adam Pearce says something. Triple H goes, "Well, that should be a decision for." Or someone came out to the ring, and he goes, "That should be the." Oh, Dom came out, and then he goes, "That should be the decision for the new SmackDown GM." And he just goes, "And it's Nick." And Nick just comes walking out of the corner of the ring and just
no
gets
entrance,
in.
no nothing.
I'm like, was he standing there the whole time? Did everyone know he was? Did I miss him coming out earlier in the show or something? And it's like, did you see that?
Yeah, they could have done that better.
He didn't come down to the ring. They didn't do a big thing. Well,
That's why the crowd didn't really react either.
Yeah, it was just horribly planned.
Smells like Vince McMahon.
It smells like a bad Triple H segment. I don't know.
That's the Vince McMahon scent we're used to smelling. That does smell like a last minute change. Quick throw his suit on. I don't care if it fits you or not. What's on the rack at Men's Warehouse up the street?
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, look at him. He knows. He's like, yeah, it does smell like that.
Go back and watch the whole segment. Just didn't. Then when he gets in the ring, the suit's way too big. It just didn't.
We don't have time to cue up music.
Just
get the suit on. Get out to the ring.
Everyone. That's one thing that WWE. Just to get off topic, they should show every entrance down to the ring. That whole they do that during the commercial. I don't know why they do that.
Even for the jobbers.
But have everyone come out like the old.
I always thought that would be nice and respectful if they did that to the jobbers.
Yeah.
But
give them a name,
especially
and
if they're hometown.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
So let's talk about it now. I mean, where does this go with the GM now? I don't know. I sent the post that
the draft is going to mean something.
But I sent a picture of the Adam Pearce, right? Did I send a picture of him saying on Facebook that I'll see you at the draft?
No.
I meant to send that. Well, he posted on Facebook, "Hey, welcome, I'm new GM. Good luck, Nick. I look forward to battling you." And then he goes, "I will see you at the draft." And he just posted it this week. So does that mean so what does the draft mean now?
It might just mean general whenever the next draft is. I don't think
I haven't seen anything. I gotta imagine all of Adam Pearce's posts have to be somewhat generated through the content department
because they're supposed to not interact with each other except for Survivor Series and the draft. That's how the brand split is supposed to work.
Yeah, it seems like even in like the major pay-per-views where you see some crossover between the two of them, it's still kept very separate. I'll bet you they're going to have maybe different lighting and stuff.
They should do that.
Now, do you guys agree with the authority figure being back on TV?
Yeah, it makes more sense.
It does.
Yeah, you need some kind of structure, and it gives you it provides like a baseline of character development for you. Like you're either with him or you're against him.
I personally feel, after thinking about it, they should have gone back down the route of just a flat out commissioner. One guy that doesn't have to necessarily be on every show, but can be Like the good old Mick Foley. When we got talking about it before the show, I got thinking, like, you know what? A simple commissioner was all they really. They don't need the GMs. One commissioner that's the authority throughout all of WWE to be the on-screen personality guy.
Shawn Michaels,
Mick
Sergeant
Foley.
Slaughter.
You know, who took it over after Mick Foley? William Regal? Then Mick Foley again.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but back in the day, and Shawn Michaels wasn't on every episode. You know, he came out when he needed to be there. And then Mick Foley kind of was on every episode because he was involved in storylines. But like,
that was the problem with the authority figure in general, is because they would get so involved that you would expect them to eventually have a match.
I think authority figures you got to have someone calling the shots.
Teddy went over really well because there was no question Teddy's not getting in the ring. No matter what happens.
Right. But, I mean, I think it's a step forward. I don't like the choices. I think Adam Pearson's just boring in general, and I don't know much about Nick besides the suit being too big.
I have a hard time imagining either one of them being the kind of Teddy Long, Kurt Angle type commissioner that we're kind of looking for. Someone that actually involves themselves and takes, like, bold steps that look... Because, look, here's the idea of a commissioner. You are the audience. You're supposed, if you're a face commissioner, you're supposed to give the people what they want. Oh, this person, you're trying to avoid John Cena? Well, guess what? Tonight, you've got a match with John Cena. Crowd goes wild, right? Or maybe you're Vince McMahon. Oh, you want to wrestle Triple H? Well, guess what? You're never going to wrestle Triple H, right? And you get heat from that.
Well, they got to go back and forth.
I don't see either one of them doing that.
No.
I don't see either one of them giving the crowd either what they want.
What's Adam Pearce's role? Is he more of a face or a heel?
He's been back and forth.
Is he?
He's definitely not a heel.
What do you think Nick is going to go with? I can see Nick being more of a heel.
for now he's going to be a babyface. But
That's
you
what
think
I'm
so?
saying.
Yeah, for the time being.
It feels like a commissioner in name only. Like it feels like you're just a mouthpiece. We're not actually gonna give you authority. Everyone knows it's at work, but like, let me be a smart here.
They're the laptop GM. What was that called?
Oh my god!
The anonymous general manager.
Emails would come in. That was
I got an email from the anonymous general manager.
The laptop opens. The lights go all red. Oh, it breaks my heart just thinking about it.
Did he say excuse me before?
Yes, excuse me. He puts his glasses on. Remember, he puts his glasses on.
I have an email from the wrong anonymous general manager.
Throw my shoe at the TV every time.
That was a classic Rock segment.
I wasn't even watching during that time.
No?
Those were the years that I couldn't watch.
Doo-doo, doo-doo.
Be glad.
And the lights would go on and on. Doo-doo,
yep.
doo-doo.
Oh, my God.
And that was when Michael Cole was in the stupid storyline. Speaking of Michael Cole, I don't know if you guys read this. This week, I think he missed his only third Raw or third show in 25 years.
Yep.
For a personal commitment he put in months ago. He's only missed 3 shows in 25 years.
I'm trying to get my hands on his book. Yeah, I've heard that he's like way cooler than I've given him credit for.
That man knows a lot about what's going on backstage for a long time.
He is. You want to talk about a company man?
Still can't stand listening to him.
He's a company man.
He's very underrated, I think. People, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I mean, look, I personally like when I compare the three. Like I compare the 3 big announcers as Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Michael Cole, right? And it's hard for me to believe that Michael Cole really was back in the day. Back in 1998, he was announcing. Like it's hard for me to imagine that, but he was. Okay, when JR left, came back, and Michael Cole stepped in. And when I look at those 3, Michael Cole,
no Tony Schiavone.
He's not. No,
he
that's
wasn't
announcing.
in WWE.
Yeah, but you're not talking about WWE. You just said announcers. There you go.
What do you mean? I'm talking commentators. I'm not talking announcers at the ring.
Tony Schiavone commentates
for what? AEW
and WCW.
Yeah,
Mike Tenay.
Garbage.
Mike Tenay. See,
man.
This is what I'm talking about, dude.
Taz garbage.
Okay,
but when I look at the 3. Okay, I don't think Michael Cole. When I watch good old classic, it's never Michael. Michael Cole, I think, sounds better when he was younger than he does now. It's I don't know what it is, but like he doesn't get through. He does deserve a lot of respect, and I feel like people don't give him.
I would like him better if he was on play-by-play and not color. His color is just terrible.
He is on play-by-play.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Lately, but he was on color for a long time. He was on Color. You'd listen to him, and he'd be like, "Yeah, this is all about the ins and outs. This is all about the making this happen in the locker room." And he's trying to forward the story. They even involved him. Remember that bit where he was a wrestler and he was going to wrestle?
He was still
he did. He
guy.
wrestled one match against Jerry the King Lawler and won.
He was commentating with Jerry then.
Remember that's when he had the box?
He was still a play-by-play guy.
That was another one that was so bad.
His storylines are bad when he's involved. He needs to stay out of the storyline.
I think the only time he did color was when JR was doing play-by-play and he was paired up with him. But he hasn't done it since then.
Which happened quite a bit back in the day when Jerry was gone. And
I watched that. Yeah, that's right. He got sick.
So what do you think is your secondary favorite commentator? You like Taz? You like Jerry the King Lawler?
Wait a minute. Who do you think is my first favorite?
Yeah,
I'm really concerned now that you.
Well, you said Tony. You sound like a big Tony fan.
I like Mike Tenay more than I like Tony.
Yeah, actually, I like Mike Tenay and TNA.
Yeah, Mike Tenay was
I really
great.
like Excalibur too.
Excalibur's good because he's really. I guess I would have Excalibur on play-by-play, and I'd have Tenay on color.
Yeah.
If I had to have a 2-man booth, if I had to have a 3-man booth, I got to put JR in there.
Yikes.
Tenay is better analyzing than color, really, but.
Yeah, but
brings
I
all
would
the
want
history.
analysis in my color. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, I'm that kind of a fan.
Yeah.
There
you go. Mike Tenay and Don West. There you go. How about that pair?
Schiavone on Mike, too, because I would have him doing the interviews. Yeah, he'd be great on that. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Michael Cole can hold a candle to those guys. No. I just don't.
What?
He's been at
Michael Cole can't hold a candle to them?
He's been at it for a long time, but that's literally the only positive thing I can say is that he's been there 25 years.
Yeah.
I can't say anything good about his actual commentary.
To this day, I still can't. I get annoyed listening to him calling a match.
He's annoying for sure. Don't get me wrong, but you can't deny what he's put in.
He doesn't.
He sounds much better back in the day than he does now. Back like 1999, 2000, 2004.
You know what it is?
He sounded good.
He tries so hard to get his catchphrases in, but he'll mess up
that's another
a kick or a drop
and he
kick
can't
or
yell.
something.
When he yells, he's
Fight night!
and when he yells, his voice cracks.
Oh my!
It's the big dog.
The problem is he tries to add in that element of JR and King back in the day, and his voice just doesn't do it.
You know, let me give him a little bit of credit here. I think he wants to turn WWE. Has tried to turn WWE in the direction of more like premier sports, right? Baseball, football. You need to have a touchdown call. You got to have a home run call. He's created this library of calls. Every time, think about it, right? Every time Judge hits a home run, what does he say?
I don't watch baseball. How the hell would I know?
Of course you don't watch baseball. Some commentators that are specific to particular teams will have a specific home run call for all the players on the team. And Gardner plants one, right? They all have a specific. He tried to do that for all the wrestlers.
Anytime Finn Balor's in the match and knocks somebody down, goes up to do his finisher, he always says he's in the drop zone.
Yeah, he tried to do that, and it doesn't.
It's still like that now. The commentary is too staged.
You don't see that in AEW. No, you don't see that in AEW.
It's too staged. Back in the day, you talk about back in the day, they could say whatever they want, probably, but like now they gotta be careful. The commentary is too planned out at WWE. It really
to their
is.
credit, at AEW,
it really is.
I'm pretty sure they talk to Tony and they say we don't want to know the finisher.
Right.
Don't tell us what the finish is. I don't want to know.
That's how it should be.
I mean, the WWE commentary it's too planned out. It's too you can tell the way they say it. They are specifically told to say that line.
Yeah, whoever's the
at
gorilla
that, like,
is
it's
telling
like,
him in his ear.
It's like,
don't forget. Just like his dad. Just like his dad. Don't forget. Just like his dad.
I think that's a little less now with Triple H, though. It was definitely there with McMahon. He was yelling in their ears constantly.
I don't know. So if he's had a creative, does that mean Triple H is sitting in Gorilla every
oh,
night?
for sure.
Absolutely.
Or Tony Pritchard, one of them's there.
Maybe not for NXT, right?
Pritchard is there too. Both of them. Yeah.
Pritchard's probably working with the writers.
Shawn Michaels does NXT.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shawn Michaels.
At the end of the show, they say they list Triple H as a producer, so he's there. I gotta imagine.
Yeah, I just don't know whether you're in Gorilla. I mean, you're the quarterback of the show.
I would.
Let me put it this way: if I'm Triple H and I just got creative control and I just been knighted, I'm in that Gorilla position. I'm making sure everything's done the way I want it done.
Yeah, at least
because he's gonna take the blame if it's not done. You know. I mean, that's just the way that's going to be.
He was always in Gorilla when McMahon was running things. He would sit right next to him.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, now that he's not
I'm
Now
sure
that
he's
in
running
that
the show.
higher
Yeah.
authority position. Does he delegate, managing
I'm sure
the
he's
show and
running
producing
it.
it?
I'd be surprised if he's not.
And I believe it's executive producers, which is typically more symbolic than, really on the
He
ground.
should have a hands-on approach.
I would want him and Gorilla.
I mean,
for sure.
He's
Buy
got
the
to be.
company.
He's got to be there.
Yeah,
He has that big headset on sitting there.
But yeah, you're right. He's probably not. He's probably queuing up the next matches and queuing the tape and stuff. He probably isn't whispering to Booker T.
And I think I read that Michael Cole has a bigger position now where he can kind of say what he wants. He's in charge of a lot of the commentary now.
Yeah,
he has a title.
He's the head of the commentary and
right,
and whatever you call it. I don't know the title, but
I think a year ago. But I think he got a title. Like he's vice president of like production. Or he's like he has a title now.
Yeah, he probably manages the camera guys.
Right, he's more involved in a lot of
front of house. You might call it maybe
something
and
like
all
that.
The other commentators
Right.
answer to him. Even in NXT, he's still
even though he's not that. Like I agree with Matt. His commentary is very stale and very like when he tries to yell in excitement when people come out like a surprise return, he doesn't sound good. Like his voice crack. Like it's like you know that. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Like that's like the good old JR. When Michael Cole says it, it's like
you can tell it's not a surprise with him.
He's been cut in half. I swear to God, by Jesus, he's been cut in half.
By God, he's dead.
Business is about to pick up, JR.
Oh, there's some good calls.
But,
we'll link those together. I just laugh for 5 minutes continuously. By God Almighty.
Moving on. Speaking of good times, Sting announcing that he's retiring. I could, whatever. But
do you even
don't
care? He's like, yeah, I remember him when he was in WWE for a couple of years.
No.
Sting.
Let me tell you something. One thing I've learned. The guy that D2 like, I don't like. And the guy that I like, D2 don't. When are you going to learn that I am hardcore WWE, WWF? I would root
Can you name
death.
any of Sting's signature moves?
No, I would root death.
Name a single one.
I would wish death upon Goldberg
It's the sharpshooter.
and Sting and WCW back in the day. I could care less about him. I really don't. I think he should not be in the ring now, but he is. But hey, this is Sting's time, so let's give these guys the time they want to talk.
Was Ric Flair older? Did Ric Flair wrestle
Ric Flair-
on TV? Did he wrestle
on
on TV into his early 60s? When did he come off television?
WrestleMania, what was it, 26 with Shawn Michaels? That was his last official TV
with the kick.
match.
Yeah, the kick. Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
he was
10
in his
years ago?
60s. Yeah,
So
he was in his
26.
60s.
Yeah, his
Because
bones
he's,
were alive.
78 now?
Is he that old?
Something like that.
Yikes.
So maybe he was 65 then. That would make him 65. And Sting's will be 63, I think,
be older than that. Hang
by the time. So he's not 80. Man, he makes it to 80. It's only because his liver's pickled. We're going to talk about it on False Count Anywhere. We'll do a deep dive on Sting and his career for you guys. Any of you guys that might not be familiar with it, because he is, for the new kids, a bit of a recluse, as it were.
Ric Flair is 74.
Yeah, okay, younger than I thought. So he was probably about Sting's age when he went off the air about 12, 13 years ago. So
How old Sting? 58?
62?
64.
Yikes.
60.
I thought he said 64.
Maybe
this week.
63. Oh, he might have just turned 64. You're right.
Yeah.
I think he just turned 64. So it's time for him to retire. Makes sense. I guess my question is, and maybe something that makes sense to talk about here, what should his last match
64.
be?
I think
Should he pair with Darby Allin
I
and
think
do
he
something?
should go against Darby.
Whoa. Can he put Darby over and make it look good?
I think so.
That would be cool to see them feud and have Darby go over on him. You know it's going to be like a Shawn Michaels Ric Flair moment.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Darby will just flip him off. I don't love you.
Smack him with a skateboard or something.
That's the only one I could really think of. Anything else would just kind of be.
You think it'll be a good match?
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think he's not moving like he used to.
He
but
has
he can
done
still
some-
make it look.
He seems to be willing to take risks.
Yeah.
With the dives on
Yeah,
the
64,
tables
and he jumps off a balcony every other show.
doing that crazy stuff. It does seem like he's willing to go after it.
I
Dislocate his jaw or whatever he did. I don't remember
Yeah.
what that was before Wembley or whatever.
I'm interested to see though if there's going to be an Adam Copeland match before that, because he did mention him on his promo when
as
he
a
first
dream
came in.
match.
Yeah.
As a dream match, yeah.
So they got until February to make that
there's
happen.
plenty of. I mean, that could be. You could do anything with that. He's working with Lucha now, but you could do a quick thing, Full Gear or something. No, not Full Gear. It's too soon. It's too soon. But yeah, you could do something, especially with 12. You got 12 pay-per-views. Maybe not though. I don't know. There's only a few more left.
Remember, it's 3 months away.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
3 shows, 3 months. I don't know. But it's the end of an era. Do you think he stays in the business?
They all stay in the business. He'll go to like a producer or behind the scenes.
I give Taker a lot of credit. He really hasn't stayed in the business.
No, he hasn't.
He's come back.
Taker.
Undertaker.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he flew the coop.
I mean, well, if anybody you thought would stay in the business, it'd be him.
That type of caliber, Undertaker's not producing. He put in his time. He's hitting the road.
No, but you put him out.
Stone Cold, The Rock, they're not staying there to produce.
You'd have him develop. I mean, the knowledge that he has.
Oh, yeah.
On character development.
I could see him going either way. I could see him being a backstage hand or just going home.
I just put him in there for talent development. Hey, look, once a month, come down to the Performance Center, put a clinic on, critique these guys, help them work the mic.
I don't think he'll go back to WWE.
No.
Who are you talking about?
Sting.
No.
That's who we're talking about.
Right, but what I'm saying is, does he stay in the business?
No, yeah, I know. I'm saying I could see him. I could see him being a producer, or I could see him.
I'm sorry, but the fact that he's still wrestling right now means he doesn't want to give it up. So I can see him backstage doing a producing.
Doing like an.
He's not like Goldberg. Goldberg flew the coop. Stone Cold. You got to look at this like Ric Flair. There's certain caliber that they're not Hulk Hogan. They're not staying in producing. Well, Sting, I'm shocked because I would consider Sting in that caliber. But the fact that he's involved in as much as he's involved right now tells me I bet you he stays on. And
you mentioned Ric Flair. And we talked about his age. I read in last week he wants to have another match.
I read that too. Yeah, crazy.
Even though he had his retirement match last year or something.
He's what's his name? Randy the Ram Jam from The Wrestler, the movie. He wants to die in the ring.
Not the King or something.
He'd be happy, I think, in the ring.
I think he wants to die in the ring. I think he wants to take a drop kick, sell it, do his oversell, no hands, have a heart attack when he hits the ring and die. I think that's how he wants to go out. I think he's downright suicidal. I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about more on FCA.
You guys are talking about that later, so we'll leave it to that. Let's go through a couple punch lists of things that came up this week that we can quick have a conversation about. A lot of rumors going around, and I think even comments from Ari. We talked about TKO a minute ago, but Monday Night Raw coming off of Mondays. Would you guys be in favor of that or not in favor of that? Or are you so used to Monday at this point?
Where would it go?
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be.
Can't go Sunday.
Can't go unless everything gets shifted around.
Yeah, I think it's been such a staple on Monday. If they switch nights, it's gonna be devastating.
It's like their brand. It is. It's like 30
Monday
years.
Night Raw.
Do you think they try to slap it on Wednesday and go head to head with AEW?
I mean, they would crush AEW probably, but
is that a goal?
You think so? Depends on what channel they end up on.
Would they crush AEW? Yeah, everybody's just gonna end up on streaming.
Because I mean,
anyways.
right now their average is what 1.4 for Raw.
1.4, 1.5, yeah, something like that.
This week, Dynamite was just under 1 million. I don't think they'd be.
They are going to take Dynamite viewers though, if they go.
Yeah.
It won't go the other way.
But the thought process behind it is that Raw does go up against a lot of things that, Monday Night Football for quite a bit. There's a lot of TV shows on Monday nights that people like. Monday night's a prime night in general for TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. They would have to... Okay, so you either choose... Monday night has kind of been their night. Yes, they go up against other stuff, but Monday Night Raw is Monday
I think
Night
it's
Raw.
Tuesday.
If they move to Tuesday, then you have to bump NXT. Move to Monday.
Move NXT to Thursday.
It's big enough now. It holds its own. You really can't send it back to like streaming services. You really want to loop it in, so it has to be on TV.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Thursday is okay. If I was going to move NXT, I'd move it to Saturday probably.
You would? No, they're keeping that on primetime weeknights. They're not doing... WWE's not going to go to the Saturday route.
If I had to move Raw, I would bump it to Tuesday, and I would move NXT. I wouldn't put it on Thursday.
Why not?
I'd put it on Saturday.
Then you're battling Collision.
Yeah.
Do you think they want to battle Collision?
I think if I'm going to sacrifice any one of my 3 shows to go up against Collision, I'm putting NXT.
I personally think it's not moving. I think they're just saying that.
Yeah,
I think it's
they just want to negotiate.
I mean, it's so iconic with Mondays.
Part of their brain.
Yeah, I mean, we're
we're willing to negotiate. No, you're not.
Possible Randy Orton return at Survivor Series. I heard he's been cleared, but it's just a matter of getting him into the TV.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of shape he's in. It's been pretty quiet. I have heard that he's been bouncing around the Performance Center a little bit, knocking the rust off. My biggest question is heel or face?
He'll be a face when he first comes back.
You think
but
so?
I think it'll be a quick. Well, he's been a face for a while. Teaming with Matt Riddle and everything. He was a face for a while.
What Survivor Series is? Is it the 25th?
Yeah, it's usually around Thanksgiving.
It's like right after, right? So we'll know like 2 weeks before because they'll start teasing. Oh, a mystery person or some kind of a whatever.
Next we have Netflix is doing a series, or not a series, but just a documentary on Vince, which is
supposed to be a series, but that's changed now.
That Vince, Bill Simmons came out today. He will not have any control over creative. It's no end say. It's just coming. You'll get to see it, but he has no final say.
Yeah, it sounds like with all of the legal battles and everything McMahon's been going through, that this thing's going to be pretty hard hitting and. They're not gonna let him try and put a positive spin on it. So
we were talking about it before. Is WWE, are they involved in it? Collaborating?
They're not.
Is it a WWE film?
I've got the article here. It's not a WWE film. No.
Oh, okay.
It is. Bill Simmons is the head of the production. He appointed Chris Smith as the executive producer, who is known for the Fyre Fest. Documentary.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
It's Netflix's show. WWE is just in collab with giving, providing the video history and stuff like that. I think that's all they're doing with it.
It makes a lot.
Production.
Yeah, you're probably like licensing the clips and stuff like that. I mean, it makes sense. Wrestlers was a home run for Netflix. Viewership is through the roof for that show.
Yeah.
Subscribers are up for Netflix. Their stock just jumped 12%, I think, on really good subscriber numbers that they came out with.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we've been talking about this forever here, but there is a hunger out there for wrestling. There is demand out there in the world. WWE is trying to tap into it now that they've seen the success of the OVW. They got to get their foot in the door. It makes a lot of sense, and keeping Vince McMahon out of it, very good decision.
Yes.
Biography and A&E paired with WWE. We've got all
but there's really no
propaganda.
I mean, the reality is there's no obligation. If WWE Studios or whatever is not involved, there's really no obligation to say Vince has final control. You just got to make sure it's accurate.
Well, back in the old day, they would write that into the contract.
Right.
They'd say, "Oh, you want to do something on Dusty Rhodes?
That's
Great.
why
we're going to review it and we're going to let you know."
That's why Vince doesn't do interviews.
Right.
He's only done very few when he approves them.
Well,
It says
everything's a work.
It says they've been working on the documentary for 3 years with Vince. This is Bill Simmons. I genuinely believe it has potential to be incredibly impactful. And Netflix retains final cut, much like a 30 for 30 format. McMahon will see it, but he won't have power to alter anything.
I hope it's a genuine look.
It sounds like it will be.
Because I think he did some really good stuff. He did some really shitty
so
stuff.
Vince did do some work on it. He did work with them on. Okay, so it's
he's
not going to be
involved.
a shit show against him then. I mean,
Right.
he contributed to it, like interview-wise. I'm assuming, right?
That's
not
what
a hit piece.
Right,
That's what it
Well,
sounded
some of them
like.
can be.
It was originally going to be multiple episodes.
Right.
He was going to be fully involved. Now, with everything going on, I think they decided it's just a one-episode thing. We're going to tell the whole truth, and he's not going to be able to put his spin on it. But he is involved, absolutely.
All right. From one leader to another, let's switch over to Tony Khan. From last week, the big battle to shows that it seems like Tony Khan's getting a little crazy on
He needs to
Twitter.
get off Twitter. Yeah.
And I want to say maybe a meltdown with some of the comments. I mean, he was going after. He called out Vince McMahon directly, I believe, a few times, but he actually said Vince's name directly on a tweet.
Yeah, there was a thing about contract tampering while he was in the hospital with his mother or something like that.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is not putting a good shine on Tony, especially after all the CM Punk stuff. I'm wondering who pushed who first backstage at Wembley now that it's, Punk was accused of.
So do you think the NXT Tuesday thing really got to Tony Khan?
If he did, he's an idiot.
Yeah,
he
shouldn't. It shouldn't.
If he did, he's an idiot. I mean, you walked into a bar, you found the biggest guy in the room, and you smashed a beer bottle on the back of his head. Like, you might not be happy about it, but you don't get to act indignant when the guy turns around and beats the living piss out of you, which is essentially what happened. I give him all the credit in the world. I mean, he poked the 800-pound gorilla, but when you get smashed in the ground like Donkey Kong, you don't get to complain about it.
If it wasn't the ratings that pissed him off, it was the talk around that, online and whatever else.
I'm sure it gets, because it sounds to me, my impression is that he's getting to be a little thin-skinned. And so all the comments about, like, oh, it's a second-rate promotion.
Right.
And
we know how tribalist
all the stuff that WWE writes
fans.
into their contract about, like, AEW not being able to come through town on their heels and having this blackout period before and after they come. I'm sure that gets on Tony Khan's nerves because he would love to leverage some of
So a lot of people seem to have issue with his comment towards John Cena and The Undertaker. That this is the first time, I'm paraphrasing, this is the first time they've been on a show together and the ratings have been under a million.
Yeah.
He said something like, this is the first time in something years, I think, or something. And I guess a lot of people took offense to that. He's calling out directly John Cena and Undertaker.
I think if I was him, I'd be more like, oh, John Cena's not busy right now? That's what I would call out. I wouldn't call out the ratings. I think what I said last week was, calling this NXT is like, dressing the New York Yankees up in Little League shirts, having them beat the Mets and saying, oh, the Mets got beat by a Little League team.
Right.
That's really not fair.
Right.
They did under $1 million. Okay, like that's the thing. That's what makes me think it's so thin-skinned. It's like, who gives a shit?
Right.
It looks like
focus on your own stuff.
I don't know why you just can't just be a duck floating on top of the water.
Right.
Kick your legs like hell underneath the water. Do everything you can behind the scenes, but just float on.
Do you think maybe the stress is starting to get to him a little bit?
I'm sure he's putting too much on him.
I mean,
probably.
Look. I know I always shit on AEW, but the reality is, he may be feeling the pressure a little bit. If ratings are the same year to year, look, the guy put a lot of work and a lot of money. There's no questioning that. When you're doing something over and over and over again for a year and a half, and you're seeing the same results, he could be getting up. Maybe he's starting to really get to that point of frustration.
If I'm Tony Khan, I feel like, and I'd love to get your take on this. If I'm Tony Khan, I feel like, man, I just cannot get a touchdown. Like, right. I signed CM Punk. Things look really great. CM turns out to be a complete shithead, and our brand takes a hit for it. We fucking sell out Wembley Stadium, and then there's asshole critics on the side that are complaining about whether it's 75,000 or 72,000 or 80,000. Like, it's an insane show no matter what we did.
Right.
Like,
go as far back as 2019. We opened up in October, and now in March we have to close down because there's no fans.
Yeah, the world won't let him just get a win. Like, they won't just let him have a win. He wanted to move to Tuesday. He knew he could go against NXT. He wanted that win, and they go ahead and they stack NXT just to push his face in the mud and make him feel even shit. And on top of that, they didn't even perform the way that he would have liked them to perform. He signs Copeland. It's not doing what I'm sure he wanted it to do to the ratings. They just lost Jade Cargill, who's going over to WWE and going to light the world on fire. If I'm him, I'm just like, man, I'm achieving 80% of my goals every single time I go out. But now I feel like I'm 100% behind because I've done that 5 times in a row now.
Right.
And I feel like I'm way behind where I want to be. So that's the only thing that
focuses on the other 20%.
Just let me have a fucking win.
But honestly, I feel like he's starting to get. I think not that he's had it, but I feel like that honeymoon's over for him. Look, when AEW started, the new promotion, everything was great. The sky was unlimited. Everyone thought this was going to be the place to be. And now, when AEW started, there's no wrestlers for WWE to get because AEW just started. So you can go and you can poach WWE. Now we're at the point now where WWE can start poaching AEW. And now he's starting to feel what WWE feels, the bumpy road. It's not so...
But he's not big enough that he doesn't have indie problems.
No.
He still has wrestlers that are getting arrested on gun charges. He still has guys that can't travel overseas for XYZ.
Maybe he's dealing with what WWE dealt with. Look.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
WWE in 1998 or 1988.
But look at CM Punk. He got fired from WWE for a reason. So why do you think him moving over to your company was going to be so much better? And he got dealt with WWE got dealt with back in the day, where all the drama that comes with CM Punk. And he got burned on it. He tried to pull a fast one with CM Punk and got burned.
If I'm him, I'm like, look, it's been a long time. Maybe you've matured.
Right.
Nope.
Maybe Phil's matured a little bit.
Nope.
He's come around. This is a second chance.
He knows that now. He didn't know that.
Yeah, we're giving him a second chance. And let's be honest, for the most part, for the first they were like, was it a 2-year, 3-year agreement they had? Yeah. For the first year or two, it went pretty well.
Right.
Phil behaved himself. He put butts in seats. They sold out Chicago week after week after week after week. And then Phil started acting up, and he started saying stuff at press conferences he shouldn't, and talking shit about fellow people behind the, up on the tweets, and he's wearing politically charged shirts out in the ring, and it's like, man, you're being really disruptive.
Look,
this is a problem.
CM Punk is 50% of the problem for sure, but everyone in the backstage having a title is the other 50% of the problem too. And I think, it's a little, I think CM Punk definitely is an instigator and the political show. But when you have your executive vice president beating you up on it, there's some more going on backstage.
That's what I'm
CM
saying.
Punk.
He's got indie problems.
Right.
Yeah. He's not so big that he's outgrown.
I'm not saying CM Punk.
At first I thought you meant championship title. I'm like, wait a minute.
No. I mean, there's definitely more to that story than just CM Punk for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of egos in the back. Chris Jericho thinks he runs the show. You have the executive vice president.
Jericho getting arrested in Ireland for being drunk and screaming, "Do you know who I am?" Like, these are indie problems. You don't. No. When that happens on WWE, you're suspended. Go home. We're not paying you anymore. Right. When Matt Riddle was dicking off and screwing off, what happened? We're sending you home. Hardy, what happened, man? Okay, we're going to give you a second chance. You're going to rehab. Oh, you effed up. See ya. We don't want to even look at you again. Yep. They don't put up with that stuff, and Tony is still putting up with that stuff.
Right. Tony's got to learn that. I mean, he's got to learn.
It's a steep learning curve. He's where WWE was in 1988, 1990, and they were on the skids back then. It was a tough time to be WWF back in 1998, 1990, or 1988, 1990. That was a tough stretch for them. So I think if he can put his head down, get some alligator skin, thicken his skin a little bit, stop worrying so much about the WWE and start worrying about how to make the best possible product. If he can pull 900 to $1 million every week for the next year, he's going to go a really long way towards building the base that's going to help you in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and maybe in 30 years when he's ready to retire, he'll be able to hand his kids something that Triple H is running right now.
Right.
There's no reason to think it can't happen, in my opinion. The market's big enough. There's enough of a hunger for it.
There you go. We got anything else for this episode?
No, thanks for watching.
Yep.
All right, guys. Episode 28, WWE. Signing off here. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and Facebook. No, we're not on Facebook.
We're on Facebook.
You are on Facebook, yeah. Why am I saying that? Well, I'm used to saying YouTube, and I said Facebook instead.
Who runs the social media? That's the question here.
Watch Falls Count Anywhere this week. We'll be talking all about Sting's career. Are we going to do Ring the Bell? Maybe there'll be a Ring the Bell this week. We'll see.
Jeremy and I will have one next week, for sure.
Next week, definitely. All right. On that note.
Anything else?
No, let's do it.
Until next week. Adios.
Doesn't even know our catchphrase. Jeez.
What?
Adios. No, that's how I say it.
Right, what do you guys say at the end?
So you keep watching and we'll keep wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
How many billions of times do we have to say it? 28 isn't enough.
Isn't enough.